Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Left. Favorite Resto Druid. I'm back. Took a 4-month hiatus. We're going to go over some of the changes for the pre-Legion patch. I have not read any of this stuff. This is all new to me. I do not look at the expansions before the expansions come out. That's just the way I've always played this game. So that's just the way I do it. I don't look at the information as the information comes out. I look at it when it comes out. So this just came out. So we're going to look at it. Alright, so, a couple quick changes. Number 1, we'll go over some abilities. You have Honorable Medallion. Use it all the time. Make you feel a little bit safer in your PvE gear when you're out adventuring around the world from those horde. You know what I mean? So make sure you have that, because if somebody attacks you out in the world and you're in your PvE gear, you still have you can have a PvP trinket to get out of, their kidney shots or whatever the case might be. So pretty significant change. So take a look at that. The other significant change, we got Innervate back. Only usable on healers. So if I have a DPS target and I accidentally hit the hotkey, it will not cast on them, and it does not. It will default cast on you if you don't have anybody targeted. Okay. So otherwise you have to use like a macro to cast it on yourself if you have another healer targeted. So that's cool. We got Innervate back, and then the other significant ability change is they gave us Revitalize, which is an AoE res. So those are 3 significant changes that are stock for, all any spec Resto Druid. And the medallion thing affects all players across the board, any class. So 3 things you want to take a look at right off the bat. Okay, so now we'll go into the talents. Oh, another thing, real quick. Stats. Okay, so they show you your leech now. But they got rid of multi-strike. Okay, so now for Resto Druids, right off the bat, looking at this, haste, and then mastery, and then versatility, and then critical strike. Okay, and the reason I say versatility is more important than critical strike, because versatility is going to increase all of your healing. Every single heal you do is going to be increased by versatility. Critical strike is only going to increase the ones that crit. And we've never really been a crit class, so it's really not that important. Crit is not... so versatility is better than crit, you know what I mean? So if you have some like odd off piece, and it's got like haste, crit, and then you have another piece with the same exact stats, but it's haste versatility, use the haste versatility. Or mastery versatility versus mastery crit, use the mastery versatility. Okay? So that, that just, that's another significant change. Alright, so let's go into the talents. So right off the bat, after discussing that, we're going to talk about abundance. For every rejuve you have active, reduces the healing touch by 10% cast time, and increases the critical effect chance of regrowth by 10%. Again, right there, half of that talent is useless to me. Alright, we are not a crit class. So half the talent is useless, so that basically makes the talent, in my eyes, pretty useless. Okay. Cenarian Ward, nothing changed here. 30-second cooldown. Puts a thing on a character that if they, take damage, it'll heal them for 100k over 8 seconds. Nothing changed here, but it's not as good as this ability. Swift Mend now has 2 charges, and it reduces its cooldown by 5 seconds. Now, if you look at the changes to Swift Mend, real quick, I'll just show you the stock changes. Okay, Swift Mend used to be a 14-second cooldown, and you needed to have Rejuve or the Regrowth Hot on the target to be able to Swift Mend them. Okay, well that has all changed. Okay, Swift Mend. What the hell is S. Swift Mend is now a 30-second cooldown. Okay, and it's direct heal, and you do not need anything on you to cast it. As you see, I got the Souls of the Forest buff because I Swift Mend. Okay, so you can just always Swift Mend anybody. Alright? So that's, there's a big significant change, because Swift Mend has probably always been our best heal. So that's a pretty significant change. So what this talent does is it reduces the cooldown by 5 seconds and gives it 2 charges. So that means basically you can Swift Mend every 12.5 seconds. Okay, because you have two charges and it takes 25 seconds. So 25 divided by 2, 12.5. Alright, so you can Swift Mend every 12.5 seconds, or you can do 2 Swift Mends really quick and then not be able to Swift Mend again for 25 seconds. But if you rotate them every 12.5 seconds, you can be swift mending. So that's really significant. Okay, really significant heal there. Really good talent. I would recommend using this over either one of these. Alright, so the next tier, Wild Chards, Renewal, nothing changed here. They're the same. Displacer Beast is the same, and with that being said, Displacer Beast is still the better talent. Alright, if this walkway was a River of Fire, and I needed to get to the other side of that River of Fire, well, with these two talents, I'm running through that fire and taking damage. Okay, with Displacer Beast, I'm blinking through that fire and taking no damage. Alright, so Displacer Beast is the way to go. Which leads us to the next tier, Affinity, Feral Affinity, Guardian Affinity, a Feral Affinity, and Balance Affinity. Balance Affinity increases range by 5 yards, gives you a couple Moonkit abilities. Pretty useful if you want to go out and like quest or something as Resto. You know what I mean? Or you need to like go kill some monsters for some meat real quick before the raid or something like that. You know what I mean? Instead of changing your talent, changing your spec, changing your gear, you know, you just throw this talent on real quick, do enough damage to kill some monsters and stuff, you know. Feral, you got some like weird crest monster in the top of the thing, but you don't feel like killing all the other stuff. You go Feral Affinity, you go up there, you know, stealth, you can murk them, you get some nice Feral abilities. 15% movement increase, maybe significant. Maybe significant if there's a fight where you have to move a lot, but honestly, Guardian's Affinity, reduce all damage taken by 10% is the way to go. Okay, reduce, you know, gives you a couple cool abilities too. Iron Fur, pretty significant in PvP. Basically 1 Thrash and 2 Mangles, you can pop this ability. So if you bear form and you have 2 melee on you, you bear form, you mangle one, then you thrash both, and then you mangle again, okay? And you'll be able to cast Iron Fur, increases your armor by 75% for 6 seconds. Basically, melee doesn't do damage when that's up. They just like don't do damage to you. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. So it's pretty significant in PvP. And then Frenzied Regeneration has its place in PvE. It's basically in bear form for my gear. I mean, it's going to be different for everybody depending on your health, but for my gear, it's like a 33k heal. Okay, and it heals you for 50% of the damage taken in the last 5 seconds, over 3 seconds, up to 5% of your maximum health. So 5% of my maximum health is 33,000 in bear form. So, you know, if you need to absorb some damage, you know, not a bad idea. Swap bear form, cast Frenzied Regeneration. You're going to get a small heal out of it, and you're going to take less damage. But mostly, it's just the overall 10% reduced damage is what you're looking at in this talent. That's just really good. Certainly trumps the effectiveness of these in PvE. Okay. So then that leaves us to, and you might say like, oh, well, but isn't the movement speed going to allow you to move out of, you know, boss mechanics and stuff? And honestly, with the way boss mechanics currently are, I mean, it's not really that significant. You know, we're talking pre-patch here. It might change in Legion. The 15% movement speed might be very significant in Legion all the time. So, you know, that might be the case. But currently, right now, the 10% damage reduction is the best talent for PvE or PvP. Okay? So basically, this is generic. In PvE and PvP, you want to be using these 3 talents. Okay? The next tier, up to you. Doesn't really have any PvE significance. In PvP, I like Mighty Bash. Sometimes I'll use this against melee cleaves, and sometimes I'll use this on Blade Edge Arena. But mostly I just use Mighty Bash. It's a 5-second stun. It's really good. So it's a good peel. You know, you can use it in all forms. So that's just kind of my go-to, but whatever, dude. It's your game. You pay for it. Just do whatever you want to do with these 3 talents, because they're really not significant in PvE. And then in PvP, I would just recommend Mighty Bash. It's probably the way to go. Unless it's going to be like a melee cleave that's going to train you the whole game. And then that leads us to the next tier. Cultivation. Totally useless. This talent sucks. Doesn't do anything for you. It's dumb. I don't like it. I've used it in a couple different scenarios, PvE and PvP, and I don't like it. So that leaves us Tree of Life, Souls of the Forest. Souls of the Forest is going to be your go-to for any PvP application. Tree of Life is going to be your go-to for any PvE application. If you are an advanced Resto Druid with advanced gear and you want to have maybe a little bit more fun healing as a Resto Druid, you can do Souls of the Forest in PvE. And I actually put up better numbers than when I used Tree of Life. And I think that's just because of how fast boss fights are going now and all the changes and everything like that. But generally speaking, for Resto Druids, anybody that's watching this video because they're learning Resto Druid, Tree of Life is the way you want to go. Okay, that's what you're going to use in Legion. That's what we've been using for a very long time. So this is really the way you want to go. Again, this is pre-patch. So this is that odd phase between the expansions where the game doesn't really make sense because, like, you know, the abilities are odd. You're missing abilities, you know, so it's kind of like that weird phase. So, but if you're still raiding or whatever, I would be using Tree of Life. Now, for 5-man instances, honestly, right now, regardless of what your gear is or skills or knowledge of Resto Druids, I would use Souls of the Forest in 5-man applications. Okay, but understand how it functions with Swiftmend. When you Swiftmend, you proc Souls of the Forest, which is going to increase your next regrowth or rejuvenation by 200%, or your next wild growth by 75%. Now, in the raid application, the wild growth increase is the more significant change. Okay, but in the instance application, the 5-man instance application, the regrowth and rejuvenation is the more significant change. Okay, so, you know, it goes really well with prosperity. But, so that's this tier. Okay, basically broke that down for you. Alright, so the next tier, you've got Spring Blossoms, increases our, what is now Efflorescence. I think it used to be Regenerative Mushroom, and then prior to that, in Mop and Cataclysm, it was Efflorescence. So I don't know why they keep making the same ability and changing the name twice now. It's had 3 different names, I guess, right? It's been Efflorescence, and then Revitalizing Mushroom, and then Efflorescence again. So I don't know why they're doing that, but anyways, the same idea. Either keep it on the melee and the tanks, or keep it on the ranged. Pretty simple. Spring's Blossom buffs this. Okay, it adds a hot to it that's going to proc on the people. I could see it maybe being significant if there's going to be a boss fight where there's going to be massive amounts of AoE throughout the entire boss fight. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to want to use Rejuvenation. Okay. Now, the last talent here is reduce the cooldown of Tranquility by 60%. Okay, we're going to talk about Tranquility here because they did nerf it. Okay, they did nerf it. So that's pretty significant. It got nerfed. As you can see, healing increased by 100% when not in a raid. Okay. So like in dungeons, maybe this talent might be really good, but I still think the double hot's probably better. So this talent is not that great. I could maybe see it being useful in a 2-man healer situation, where maybe you need more cooldowns more often to rotate through. Okay, but otherwise, generally you want to be lining your Tranquility up even more now that it got nerfed with Tree of Life. Okay, you're going to be wanting to lining that up with Tree of Life. So this talent is kind of like, I mean, it makes it so you can't line, you know what I mean? It's like a waste of a talent slot, because if you're going to be lining Tranq up with Tree Form, well, Tree Form's, you know, a 3-minute cooldown. So why make Tranquility a 2-minute cooldown if you're trying to line it up with that 3-minute cooldown? It just doesn't make sense. And then that leaves our last tier. Moment of Clarity is going to be your go-to for PvE. Stone Bark is really good for PvP. Okay, reduce the cooldown of Iron Bark by 30 seconds, making it 1 minute, because without that talent, it is a minute 30. Okay, and it still functions the same. It's basically Bark Skin for any target you want. Okay, reduces all damage taken by 20% for 12 seconds. Okay, and it's a minute 30 cooldown. Obviously, this makes it 1 minute, and that person also receives 20% more healing. Not really significant in PvE. In PvP, it is definitely the go-to talent, but in PvE, not very significant right now. Okay, Moment of Clarity is what you want. And then you have Flourish, this thing over here. I'm not really sure what they were thinking with this, but it's kind of stupid. Okay, it's kind of dumb. What they should make it is a 1-minute cooldown that, you know, maybe cast like some kind of AoE hot on the whole raid every minute that's pretty decent. Okay, maybe that would be worth it, but this talent, the way that it is and reads, is pretty useless. Alright, you're better off having Moment of Clarity, from what I can tell. Okay. So I'm just going to switch to my PvP spec here so I don't forget. See that? Oh, that was so hard to go from PvP to PvE now. I had to change one talent. Crazy. But anyway, so these are the talents. That's the breakdown. One last significant change that I forgot to mention and that I'm not very happy about, and I'm sure some of you that have been playing Resto Druid for a little while are a little sad about it too. And it's kind of nice that this song's playing at last by Etta James. The Heart of the Wild is gone. I love that talent. I love that ability. They took that from us. They stole it. They stole that ability from us. And they also got rid of Nature's Vigil, which was probably even more likable than Heart of the Wild. Love that ability. Increase my healing by 20% for 30 seconds and causes my heals to do damage. Love it. It was great. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. They got rid of both of those on us. So we don't have either one of those. So that's pretty sad. So I'm going to put up a video. I'm going to do Proving Grounds on Gold for you guys. I'm going to talk about how I'm healing, why I'm healing that way, what I'm doing, the rotation, all that. So look for that. Remember to check out the stream, twitch.tv/leftdruid. I try to stream a couple times a week. So check that out. Make sure you watch that. Make sure to subscribe and leave your comments below. I do respond to them in a timely manner, mostly because I have email notifications and it pops up on my phone. So I do respond to them in a timely manner. So if you have any questions, any comments, anything that you want to put in, any input, anything that you're thinking, looking at, whatever, dude, I am always open to discussions. I am not a know-it-all of this game. I just enjoy playing it, and I like to try to consider myself pretty good at it. And I also have like 8 years experience playing this class. So, yeah, and I guess we'll see you guys in the next video.